Hey readers, welcome to the Shelf Addiction Podcast, and thank you for streaming or downloading today's Shelf Byte episode. If you are new here, Shelf Bytes features spoiler-free book and audiobook reviews in just a few minutes. I'm your host, Tamara Ford. If you'd like to chat with me about the book reviewed in this episode, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Shelf Addiction. In addition, don't forget that you can always find me in both the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official or on the Patreon page. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like to show your support for this show, please consider becoming a Shelf Addiction Patreon subscriber. You'll gain access to exclusive Patreon-only content, including monthly live streams, uncut video of podcast recordings, stickers, t-shirts, and more depending on your subscription level. Join us now by clicking the link in the show notes or go to shelfaddiction.com and click the Support Us tab. Help us make even more bookish content for your ears. If you'd like to show your support in a non-monetary way, please share this episode with bookish friends or on your favorite social media space. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to kick things off with the Goodreads synopsis. Bryce Quinlan had the perfect life, working hard all day, partying all night, until a demon murdered her closest friends, leaving her bereft, wounded, and alone. When the accused is behind bars but the crimes start up again, Bryce finds herself at the heart of the investigation. She'll do whatever it takes to avenge their deaths. Hunt Athalar is a notorious fallen angel, now enslaved to the archangels he once attempted to overthrow. His brutal skills and incredible strength have been set to one purpose: to assassinate his boss's enemies, no questions asked. But with a demon wreaking havoc in the city, he is offered an irresistible deal. Help Bryce find the murderer and his freedom will be within reach. As Bryce and Hunt dig deep into Crescent City's underbelly, they discover a dark power that threatens everything and everyone they hold dear. And they find in each other a blazing passion, one that could set them both free if only they'd let it. I bet you can understand why I had to read this title. That was the synopsis from the adult fantasy title House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. The audiobook is narrated by Elizabeth Evans. Published March 3rd, 2020 by Bloomsbury Publishing and Audible Studios, respectively. The hardcover comes in at 803 pages and the unabridged audiobook is 27 hours and 50 minutes. Of course, with Maas's books, she delivers beautiful cover art to kick off her new series. Also, as expected with Sarah J. Maas books, this was a long one. They all are. The audiobook moved at the speed of light and the plot was very quick moving as well. The characters kept me interested and had very decent character development throughout the book. And of course, as expected, the world building was solid. Previous to this title, I have enjoyed Maas's Court of Thorns and Roses series, as well as her Throne of Glass series, which I enjoyed immensely. So I was excited to see what fresh idea she'd come up with for this book. I was pleasantly surprised that while this is different from anything I've read from her, it was also the same. By that, I mean her blending of our regular world along with fantasy was something that I had not previously read from her. Characters are using cell phones, going to the club, hanging out with friends, drinking, there are drugs involved. It's very mundane, but yet at the same time, it's not just humans doing these things. There are angels and witches and werewolves and fae, and pretty much any fantastical type of creature you can think of is featured at some point in this book. And in this world where these type of creatures are normal to see on a day-to-day basis, that feels familiar with Maas's books. Maas is also great at writing about strong friendships and friend circles, as well as heroines that are mouthy, strong, and follow their own mind. Of course, there is always a love interest, and this time I thought it was really cute, and I ship it, although she is following that trope of a much older guy with the girl. Well, a woman in this case, because thankfully, at least she is an adult. Bryce is a full-on adult in her 20s, and that is nice to see. You will find in this plot secrets, lies, deceptions, and all of this is a part of their regular society. Backstabbing, the whole nine. So if you're down for a little crime solving along with your fantasy and romance, then you should definitely check out House of Earth and Blood. It really took me no time at all to just fall right into this story and feel right at home with these characters. I really enjoyed Bryce and Hunt together as a pair. They really played off of each other very well. Their banter was very fun and light, and their romance was cute. And like I said earlier, I ship it. I'm down with it. I mentioned friend circles earlier, and that is, of course, present in this book as well. There is a good amount of secondary characters that are friends to both Bryce and Hunt. And those secondary characters really uplift the primary characters, and they are part of the story in a significant way, and I enjoy that. So the villains are villains, the good people are good, sometimes they're not, there's a lot of gray, and sometimes reading about characters that sit in the gray is also fun. So you definitely have that aspect going as well. Of course, I must acknowledge the audiobook narrator, Elizabeth Evans. She has done a marvelous job with this narration, as she always does. If you are familiar with the other books I mentioned by Sarah J. Maas, then you will realize that Evans has narrated quite a few Sarah J. Maas books. It's always a pleasure to see her name pop up as the narrator. I really have no complaints at all as far as the audiobook narration goes. It definitely adds value to the story and makes listening to this a breeze. I did listen at 1.5 speed, and that was perfect for me. I rated this book 4 out of 5. I recommend this for those that have enjoyed previous Sarah J. Maas titles, as well as those that like their fantasy with a little bit of urban flair. This also would be a great choice for book clubs that read fantasy. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to speaking with you in the next episode. Until then, happy reading. Take care, everyone.